On today's episode of the CLS Experience, we have a very special treat. He's the business strategist and money mindset educator. He's a successful super entrepreneur, investor, and tremendous philanthropist. He's a coach and mentor who rewrote his financial story from one of near failure to one of abundance. He's the host of the groundbreaking podcast, The Chris Harder Show, and he's empowering others to live their lives at an elite level, both personally and professionally. He's just an overall juggernaut in all facets of life and a phenomenal human being. Please welcome the grateful and abundant, multidimensional, dynamic and driven, paradigm shifting Chris Harder.
Man, Craig, one, it's awesome to be here. You have such awesome guests. I know how much of an honor this is. I don't take that lightly. Two, that intro, when you said, please welcome the grateful before abundant, that's pretty cool. Well, I don't know if most people would catch that. Gratitude is like the centerpiece of everything, man. So thanks for slipping that in there.
Absolutely. And I know how big it is for you personally, you know, because I'm a fan and obviously we've done some stuff together. I was just in your mastermind, which we were talking about before we went on air. I know how important that is to you and it's important to me too.
Well, it's the centerpiece of everything we do. So like when I wake up in the morning, I journal and I have 3 journal prompts. The very first one is gratitude. Second one is manifest, what I want to manifest for the day. And the third one is my work. And that might sound weird, but I need to remind myself every day, like, why am I going to work? And that really happens actually when you get to a place where maybe you don't have to work as hard as you once had to. You got to remind yourself, I'm going to work today to spread this good word. I'm going to work today to create abundance for other people. I'm going to work today to set our family legacy. Whatever it might be for you, it's a great prompt to remind yourself of why you're about to roll up your sleeves.
Yeah, I love that. And the first 2 things that you said that you do are gratitude and manifesting. And I'm curious, because something that I recently got into as I dive deeper into this quantum stuff, and let me be straight up with you, there was a while where I was a little skeptical because it was beyond my senses.
Same.
Yeah.
Still am, but I'm willing to play along.
I bought in, Chris, and I can't talk about this stuff enough, but something I've been practicing recently is the feeling of future gratitude, of actually feeling what it would like to accomplish that milestone and that goal. And it's just a different level of frequency. I'm wondering if you do the same.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to live into and feel and picture. I'm big on visualization. I'm very visual in my head. You have to visualize you achieving or having or doing what it is that you want to do. And listen, I've got a great explanation for guys like you and I, or women who are in the same place, the ones that are like open to it, but not sold on it yet. Listen, if you are team woo-woo or if you're team logical, I can explain it so that both people understand it. So let's start with team woo-woo. You know, team woo-woo is like, oh, if you picture it long enough, it's just going to appear. And you know, you're tuning your frequency to the frequency of what you want, and you know, matching frequencies always deliver, like all of that stuff. If you believe into that, I can't find science to dispute that. But I know that there's a lot of logical people out there that just don't want to live in that realm, but they would love for this to be true for them too. And on the logical side, it just makes sense that if you're always visualizing what you want, and if you're always controlling the lens in which you see that moment, then it's just going to make your day unfold better. You're going to be a more positive person, a more motivated person, a more energetic person. And when you're more positive and motivated and energetic, then people sense that and they want to come to your rescue and they want to partner with you. They want to be your customer. And logically, all those dreams that you're picturing will fall into place because of that chain reaction happening. So woo-woo, whether you're calling it in, or logical, whether it's happening because you start with the end goal in mind and it causes the subconscious to become conscious actions. Either way, man, I'm signed up.
That's awesome. The way you articulated that. And for the audience, it's so valuable because when you marry those two, analytical and the woo-woo, it's easier to understand and comprehend. And based on what you were saying, like when you're in that frequency, it's just contagious. People just want to be around you. I can't tell you how many people say like, Craig, I don't even know what I just signed up for. Straight up. I just wanted to be around you.
That's not in the mastermind. Listen, people need to understand this about you. That's not in the mastermind. You know, there's what, 130 people in that mastermind. It's virtual. It's really tough to get to know people. You stand out because of your energy. And I don't mean like you're bouncing off the walls hyper. Yeah, you got a side of that too, for sure. But I mean like your straight up energy in terms of, hey, this is a guy that people are attracted to. This is a guy that's doing big things. This is a guy that's running on a frequency that I want to run on. And I watched people gravitate to you in that mastermind. I watched people sign up for your programs. I watched people come to you for help. And I watched you build relationships probably equal to or faster than anybody else in there. Frequency and the energy you show up with is a real freaking thing.
Yeah. Thank you so much, but I'm going to go ahead and receive that. And I appreciate that. It means a lot, especially coming for you. I know the audience loves to jump around a little bit, but I'm going to say this. For you guys that we just hit 1 million strong, if you're not familiar with Chris, go check out his stuff. His story is very well documented. I think what's most valuable is just to have a great conversation and just land some juicy nuggets that the audience can take away from. Before we hop into that, we're going to get a little bit weird. I always like to get a little bit weird. What's your superpower, Chris?
Oh man, I love weird. Okay, my superpower is this. I can tell you within a 5-minute conversation or less who is and who is not going to be really successful. And that has allowed me to choose the right team members, the right business partners, the right everything, literally 99 out of 100 times. And we all know that your success is more about the people that you align and that you surround yourself with, whether you're hiring them, whether you're partnering with them, than it is anything else. So that superpower, just being able to recognize who has that it factor and who doesn't, that's really served me well.
That's gold, straight up. And it's so true. And I'm curious, like, what's one thing that stands out to you, or what do you look for in being able to honestly say to yourself, I don't think that person has what it takes?
Man, I'm huge on people that are doers over people that are talkers. I know that's real basic, but that's a standard I hold everybody to. I can't tell you the number of DMs I get from people saying, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that, or my dream is this, or my dream is that. And I love that. I love when people share their dreams with me. But the truth is, when my response to you is, that's awesome, what steps have you already taken? And you can't name any steps you've already taken on your own, then I automatically classify you as a talker and not a doer. And it doesn't mean you're doomed forever to be a talker, but it means right now in that very moment, if you can't answer me, at least something you've tried to do, even if it didn't work out, then you are not a natural doer yet. And I will only lock arms. I will only align with doers. I will only coach doers. I only work with doers, period.
This is gripping stuff. And let's be honest, like, there's never a perfect time, right? To get married, to have a kid, to start a business, whatever the case would be. Throw yourself in there, you take action, and you learn and adapt.
Yep. As a matter of fact, throwing yourself in and taking action is the world's greatest feedback tool, right? So whether it goes well, whether it goes crappy, doesn't matter. It's all just feedback. And you learn, oops, don't go that way, go the other way. Oops, don't go up, better go down. Oops, not going to say that, going to say something else next time. That's all really valuable feedback.
Priceless.
And your goal is to just take messy, calculated action consistently enough so that you're getting enough feedback that kind of bumps you left and bumps you right until all of a sudden it bumps you into the right position that you're supposed to be in. It's a lot like bumper bowling, dude. I don't know if when you were a kid, you remember bumper bowling, like they bring up those bumpers on the side so you can't possibly get a gutter ball, and you throw the ball and it bounces left and bounces right and finally hits the pins, right? That's what sloppy, messy, consistent action is. It's bumper bowling, and it's going to bump you down until you finally hit the pins.
Yeah. And one word that you used there that I think is significant for the audience, like, grab a pen and a journal and write this one down, is consistency. And being committed, and that long game mentality. And just to be clear, like, when I say long game, like, I don't mean it's going to take you 3 years. I mean, just every day showing up, being consistent, staying committed. Then all of a sudden, a few months down the line, it's like, holy shit, look what we built so far. Too many people I see, they have a little bit of momentum, they get dejected, and then they don't feel like showing up, and they take their foot off the gas.
Yeah, matter of fact, there's 2 types of people when they get momentum that you really got to fight through. Type 1, you get a little momentum, something bad happens, you quit. Obviously, that's not a good situation to be in. Type 2, you get a little momentum and you think, oh, this is easy. I can take my foot off the gas now, even though it's all good things coming, and that crashes too. When you get, I've got a saying, momentum is the most valuable thing to have, the toughest thing to get, and the easiest thing to lose, right? Think about that once. It is literally the toughest thing to get, momentum, the most valuable thing to have, and the easiest thing to lose. And so once you get it, damn it, you got to work twice as hard to keep it going as you did to get it in the first place, because that stuff will shut off on you in a second.
I'm laughing because this is awesome. You're on fire, and it's so true. Like, once you have momentum, the wind is at your back. Not to sound like too cliche, I just don't know how else to say it. Like, it's that state, like, I can't be stopped. And you want to stay in that frequency. And if you do lose it, it's even tougher to get back. So gold. I love it.
And people love people who are in momentum, right? Like, people are attracted to people who are in momentum. It's contagious. That's who you want to partner with. You don't necessarily want to partner with somebody when they're down and out. You don't necessarily want to partner with somebody when they're negative, or when they're in the beginning stages of barely putting some blocks together to rebuild. I'm not saying that I haven't been in those positions. What I'm saying is, the people you really want to partner with, they're already looking for someone with momentum. So get your ass in momentum and then go out there and look for those partnerships.
Bang. So boy, we'll do one more weird one, and then we'll jump around a little bit. I'm so curious for this one for you, because I love to ask some of the world's greatest this, and I always get a different answer. you've had several different chapters and seasons. Right now, today, Chris, what is your definition of success?
Creating legacy for my family. Putting our family, and when I say our family, I mean our immediate family right now, our extended family, and then generations to come, putting them in a position of financial strength so that they can then add value to the world in the way that they want to add value in the world when they get that chance. So many people waste a lifetime doing what they have to do instead of doing what they were called to do. And that's not pointing fingers. I say that from a place of empathy. And so I'm making damn sure that, our family and the generations to come, they're going to be able to choose how they want to add value in the world, as long as they're adding value, not choose what they have to do because they have to do it.
That's some pretty deep stuff, and I love it. And you mentioned the word legacy before we went on air. We talked about legacy and so forth. So I know that's important to you. You guys did this significantly with Lori's family tree, correct?
Yes. I mean, we've literally changed their family tree, but her brother now works for me. And he went from working almost 2 full-time jobs, a full-time, like 50, 60 hour a week job, and a serving job, like 20 hours plus a week, while having 3 kids at the time, right? So that's a grind. He went from that situation to coming and working for us full-time and getting this chance to restart, so to speak. Now, I want to be crystal clear. He did not get that because he is family. He got that because he was employee of the year at his full-time job 3 years in a row. And he was server of the year and like literally won all these accolades as a server in his side hustle. He earned it by showing up in the shitty parts and demonstrating if you can do well in the shitty parts, then you deserve a crack at doing something great in a job with more opportunity. Yeah. And to be able to change his family tree and what he's exposed to. Imagine he's 27. Imagine being 27 and all of a sudden being around the people that we are around and the opportunities that we're around and the ideas that are flowing and the opportunities that are showing up. Exposure to that will change your life forever. And that'll have a trickle down effect on his kids and his kids' kids and everybody else.
Yeah. And see, this is interesting because you helped him get into that position because he was already doing good. You just give him a bigger opportunity. But aside from the physical opportunity, there's something that has to change internally for that too, right?
Yeah. Yeah. He always wanted a better life. And that was demonstrated by all the awards he would win at the jobs that he did not like. Like, listen, right now, if you're doing a job that you do not like, or if you have a service that you do not like, if you're in a situation that you do not like, you still have to show up and stand out because no one's going to come and open a door for you. No one's going to come and pluck you out of there and give you a better opportunity. No one's going to come and give you a hand up if you are showing up negatively or with the bare minimum and using the excuse that, well, I don't like what I'm doing. They're only going to show up and give you that opportunity or kick open a door for you if you are showing up bright and being seen, even though you don't like the career or the job or the situation that you're in right now. Yes. That's how you get a hand up, is you got to be so damn bright despite hating your situation right now that someone notices you and says, you know what, I'll kick the door open for that gal.
Yeah, this is riveting. And to be honest with you, I was that guy for 10 years on Wall Street. Most recently, the last few years when it was really soul sucking, I still woke up every single day and gave it everything I got. I was just miserable. Yep. But what that did is it gave me confidence when I eventually stepped into CLS that I can make it work because I knew I had that drive. And like you said earlier, like if it didn't work at first, those would just be lessons that I could apply to how it can work and so forth. So by showing up, not only do other people see it, but you build self-trust.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, you're going to create your own opportunities because you'll believe in yourself when you know that you show up strong despite not liking your circumstances. Hell, here's the problem with the world right now. People look at other people and they say, well, that person probably loves their circumstances. That's why they can do X, Y, and Z. Let me share something with you. There's no financial, finish line. There's no health finish line. There's no like mental finish line that you finally get across where you love your day or you love your work or you love your stuff every single day. That's a complete and utter farce because it's subjective, right? So the fact is you got to build that muscle early. Even if you're in a really bad situation, you got to build that muscle where you're going to see the positive. You're going to find the opportunities. You're going to see the bright side. And that will have a slow but absolutely compounding effect that will start to lift you out of that situation and train you and build those muscles of automatically recognizing opportunity, automatically recognizing the bright side of things. When people will talk about me, introduce me, that kind of thing, a lot of times I'll hear them say, this is one of the happiest people I know, or this is one of the most positive people I know. I have literally trained myself to see the bright side. I've literally trained myself to see opportunity. And I can tell you exactly where those things came from if you want me to go down that road. But the point is, it was an intention that I built back when I didn't like my life. And if you build those muscles, the world's going to open right up for you.
That's awesome. When did you not like your life? When was that?
There's been tons of times in my life I didn't like my life. I didn't like my life in high school. I didn't necessarily like how I was showing up. I didn't like my life in college. I got booted out of college because all I did was party and I didn't want to be there to begin with. I didn't like my life when Lori and I lost everything in 2008, 2009. I had to start from below zero. I didn't like how I was showing up when I spent the second half of my career in banking. There's been a lot of moments I didn't like my life, but I found the bright side. I found the positive things. I found the opportunities, and I always found a way to take advantage of them. I trained myself to see that stuff.
Yeah. And also sometimes when like trauma happens, if you're under the assumption that life happens for you, not to you, I know you're big into that. And you recently interviewed Tony Robbins, who loves to talk about that stuff. Whenever something happens, you don't get crippled like some people will, because it's propelling you to something greater. Obviously never an easy pill to swallow, especially in 2008 when you guys lost everything. But that seems like that was a very pivotal moment for you guys.
Well, it was a huge pivotal. That's when we found entrepreneurship. That's when I got to choose again how I wanted to show up in the world and what value I wanted to add. Listen, here's the problem. People say, oh, the recession happened to me, or this happened. Nothing happens to you. Circumstances happen to you, but outcomes are self-made. Let me repeat that. Circumstances happen to everybody every single day, good and bad. I could have a horrible circumstance happen right after I hang up from this interview, right? It happens to all of us. But outcomes, those are self-made. So when 2008, 2009 happened, and I was in banking, and it was a banking recession, and we were living beyond our means, and we had to walk away from rental properties and short sell this big home we just bought and get rid of all the cars except for one that was so far upside down it didn't make sense to get rid of it, and go start all over again in a little 900 square foot apartment. That there's nothing enjoyable about that. There's nothing. Is humiliating, is a horrible, horrible time, is a scary time. But most people, they would sink into that fear. Most people, they would look at everything from a victim's perspective. Not Lori and I. We looked at each other. Matter of fact, when I came home and told Lori, babe, bad news, lost my job, got to sell everything, got to start over. She took a moment to let it sink in. And instead of flying off the handle at me or blaming or anything like that, she looked at me and she said, all right, I will never let this happen again. And the conviction in which she said that made me realize that she saw the opportunity for her to rise up, because up to that point, she never had a career. She wasn't Lori as people know Lori today. She was someone who I moved around every 6 to 12 months because I'd get a promotion, and she never had a shot to go and develop anything. And that was the first day that she decided that she was going to take advantage of this opportunity to rise up and become the person that everyone knows her to be today. And went on to win all the fitness titles and all the covers of magazines, and build and sell all the businesses and you name it. And the same thing with me. I took that time when everyone else was saying, oh, this happened to me, that happened to me. Now I remind you, it didn't feel good. I'm not convincing you it felt good or it was all positive or something like that. But I took that time and I said, all right, here's a chance to choose again. How do I want to show up in the world? What value do I actually want to add? I mean, listen, if I got nothing to lose now, then I've got everything to gain. So what do I want to build? And that became the beginning of this entrepreneurship, journey. And I set out to learn intentionally, how did people manage their money that didn't get stung during this time? How did they build wealth? How did they offer value to the world? And I'll tell you what, that was a really pivotal and awesome chance to be able to choose that path. So if you're in a spot right now where you're down and out, you can't even see up right now, it feels like every time you try something, you just get punched in the face. I promise you, there are some bright sides, even if they're just little cracks of light. There are some things for you to focus on. You focus on those things, and everything will start compounding in your favor.
Yeah, this is just straight up awesome. Only negative I got going on is we don't have 10 hours to chat. And there's a lot, there's a lot of synergy between us, Chris. And I didn't even realize all of it. Like, you were in banking, didn't love it, kind of got stuck. I was on Wall Street, similar. The recession happened, you had to, or you got to reinvent yourself. Pandemic happened, I got to reinvent myself. And the truth of the matter is rock bottom could be a beautiful place to be. Especially if you were miserable anyway, because like you just attested to, there's only one direction to go.
Yep, it's so true. It's funny because you used the word stuck, and I use the word stuck a lot of times when I talk about, boy, I felt like I was stuck in banking. But the truth is, none of us are ever stuck. We're just afraid to make really tough choices.
Yes.
Right? Like, there's so many people that say, oh, I'm stuck in this job, because they won't make the choice to downsize their house and get rid of their cars that have car payments. There's so many people say, I'm stuck in this town, because they won't make the choice that'll disappoint their friends and their families. So they choose to live in their miserable ass town that they hate. There's so many people that say, oh, I'm stuck in whatever situation, because they're not willing to make the really scary, uncomfortable choices that people might make fun of them for, or expose failure or anything like that. So it's always a choice. I had a choice back then to go and do something different. I just didn't have the balls to make that choice until I was forced to.
Same. And there's always a choice, right? There's always and the way you said that really hit home to me. It's like, I use the word stuck, but the truth of the matter is by choice. Look, you could fall in the water, that's one thing, but drowning is a choice. And that was my choice. And so the recession, the pandemic provided us opportunities.
Amen.
Yeah, you have to be able to seize those.
Amen, for sure. And they're beautiful opportunities. I hope that somebody's hearing this right now that feels down and out and realizes, okay, here's two pieces of evidence, right? Craig is a piece of evidence. Chris is a piece of evidence that no matter how shitty your surroundings are, this can very quickly turn around, and I can see this as opportunity.
Yes, 100%. Off topic for a second, just pivoting. Your relationship with Lori is very well documented. You guys are thriving. Obviously, it's never perfect. I know in relationships, there's ups and downs and so forth. What are your guys' secrets to success?
Man, we have been married for 16 years together, almost 20. And way back, we had made an agreement to always try things on for size. What I mean by that is, if she brings an idea to me that I think is crazy, I don't say, well, that's a crazy idea, we're not doing that, or why would you do that? I'm willing to try it on for size. Now, the agreement is also that it doesn't have to be a fit. But when you are willing to try whatever idea on for size that your partner brings to you, then that immediately does a couple of things. Number one, it empowers them to keep bringing ideas, and some of which will be awesome ideas. If you always shoot down your partner's ideas, then they're going to just stop bringing you ideas, and you're probably going to miss ideas that would really make your relationship better. That's number one. Number two, what happens? You learn that a lot of things you didn't think were going to be a fit end up being a great fit, and you wouldn't have known that unless you tried it on for size. Lori dragged me to this retreat that I would have said was a woo-woo retreat in Costa Rica once, long before I was into that stuff. And she literally lied to me. She said it was a surf and yoga camp. And I got there and it was like a meditation, like a heavy meditation and yoga camp. And we got to surf one day. And when we got there, I realized there was no internet at this hut that we were staying in. This football season, I had no way to get the game. Like, I said to her, babe, don't let this be a big rift in our marriage, but I'm going to get a flight home tomorrow, because this is absolutely not what you told me it was. And there's no flights out of, there's no Sara, Costa Rica, for people that understand where that is. It's 3 hours to this crappy little airport called Liberia. And so there's no flights out that night. And she said, okay, I understand. And she acknowledged, she's like, I know I didn't quite tell you what this was going to be, but I really wanted you to come. I really wanted you to experience this. And because I couldn't take any flights out, she said, do you at least want to come see the sea turtles hatching? And I thought, well, what else am I going to do? Sit here in this hut in the dark with no internet? Sure, I'll come along. So even the journey to go get to see the sea turtles started to become awesome. We rode in the back of this old cattle truck through rivers that were flooding with a group of people. And it was like, it brought out this inner child in us again. And we got there, and these sea turtles were majestic, dude. As far as I could see down the beach to my left And as far as I could see down to the beach to my right, we're talking miles, like your complete line of sight. Millions of these things, not thousands, not tens of thousands, millions of these things were coming up out of the water and laying their eggs and waddling back. And it's like a sight you've never seen before. And it was so cool to be able to experience. It was magical. And we got back to the hut that night and she's like, "You still going home tomorrow?" I said, "No." I said, "I'll tell you what, I will stay. And because I'm staying, I promise to play at 110%, right?" So I didn't stay with resentment. I didn't stay like I'm doing her a favor. I said, if I stay, I'm going to play at 110%. And that retreat for the next 9 days went on to radically change my life in many ways. And now Nosara is one of the most special spots for us to go to all the time.
Yeah.
And it changes my life every time I go. So why do I share that story? It was an example of being willing to try something on for size by sticking around and really trying it on for size, not trying it on for size and pretending it doesn't fit. And it ended up being one of the best things in my life. And we have 100 examples like that.
Yeah. Awesome stuff. And just unpacking some of that for a second, like what is one of the big things that really changed your life from that specific trip?
I released judgment there. I used to be a really judgmental individual, and it was painful for me, and it was painful for the other people that I was judging. And yet it was just where I was at in my life at that time. And I met this guy. His name was Gregario. I met him a couple of years ago at something called A Fest, Awesomeness Fest. And when I met him there, and I'll picture the most jovial, flamboyant Italian guy you could ever possibly meet, right? And I remember we had to do this hugging exercise. Now, this is before Nosara, a couple of years prior, A Fest. So I'm like, "Hey," and I gave him the old pat on the back. And he grabbed me and he pulled me and he says, "You do not hug another person that way by patting them on the back, that, you know, whatever, it makes the hug insignificant. Here's how you hug." And he pulls me and he holds me. And I thought, this dude is about to die. Like, do not scold me loudly in front of people about my hugging skills, dude. You're taking this a little too seriously. So I had a bad experience with Gregario a couple of years prior. Never thought I'd see him again in my life. So the next day after I say, "Sure, I'm going to stay and I'm going to play all out," I go up to the retreat, and who comes walking from about 200 feet away my direction? Mother freaking Gregario. And I looked at Lori and she looked at me because she knew this story from the past. And I'm sure she was like, "Oh shit, what's going to happen?" And because I told her I'd stay and play at 110%, I greeted the dude with love, gave him a chance to see how, what our interaction would be like. And I left that retreat with him being one of my favorite people I had ever met in my life. You spend 9 days with someone, you actually really get to know them. Sure. He was dynamic. He was fascinating. He was successful. He was brilliant. He was awesome. And that really stuck with me. I thought, boy, I judged this guy harshly. And then when I saw him 2 years later, I had instant dislike for this guy, more judgment, more hate. And I ended up loving him. And I remember thinking to myself, man, who else am I missing out on? And what else am I missing out on by judging people so quickly and so harshly? And that was a radical turning point for me. And once in a while, judgment will creep up or show up a little bit, because it does for everyone. We're human. But I would say 95% of it is gone.
Yeah, that's definitely key. And so many times we make assumptions in our mind about someone, and we alter the relationship or the interaction before it even takes shape. That's a good one, a tough one to release, but once you do, I could see how it could be liberating. Very liberating.
I'm 100% happier now that I don't judge people. I get 100% more opportunities now that I don't judge people. I've got 100% better quality of friends and circle of influence now that I don't judge people. My life is so much more diverse now, which adds massive value, being that I don't judge people. So that's been one of the best gifts ever that came out of being willing to try something on for size.
Yeah. Perfect answer to the question. What's something that makes your guys' relationship successful? You just mentioned sphere of influence. Talking about that for a second, as you continue to spread your wings in life, but specifically when you understand personal growth and bettering yourself and doing the right things, tend to outgrow a lot of people. It just is what it is. But something that you said that I love is that you're not necessarily outgrowing them, because they have a choice to grow with you. But if they don't, then it is what it is. You got to keep doing it.
You're never leaving people behind. Craig, you're never leaving people behind. They have the choice to come along with you. You have the duty to go where you were unapologetically meant to go. Because listen, if you stay back for someone, whether it's a significant other, whether it's a friend, whether it's a family, whatever it is, if you stay back for someone thinking that's going to make the relationship work, you're doomed to fail, because now you're going to be full of resentment. You're going to be full of what ifs. You're going to be full of shoulda, coulda, wouldas. And that's doomed to make that relationship fail. When you're not living into your purpose, you're doomed to be a miserable person to be around. And so no matter what, the only option is to go unapologetically where you are meant to go, and always invite the people you care about along. And guess what? Some will say yes, and some will say no. And many will be surprises with both of those answers.
Yeah.
But regardless of who says I'm coming along or not, it's your duty to go where you're meant to go. Because here's what happens. When you do, I call it the 2 phases of saying yes. Phase 1, people will say yes right away. Hey, that's a great idea, Chris. I'll come along. Phase 2 is they're like, dude, you're crazy. I can't believe you're into that. But months later or years later, when they see you leading by example and all the fruit that is born out of you leading by example, guess what? They're a phase 2 yes. They're like, hey man, I would have never guessed that that would have worked. Or I would have never guessed that, these good things would have come out of you making this decision. I'm now willing to say yes. I'm now willing to make a similar decision for myself. And you're going to miss out on all of those people in your life getting that second chance to say yes, because you didn't lead by example. So no matter what, the only answer is to go where you're meant to go, invite people along, and let people come along when their timing is correct.
Yes. And the reason why this story that you just told is so impactful, I'm going to give a little context, because this once happened with you and Lori when she was spreading her wings and she was taken off, and you found yourself in a situation where you didn't quite have that mentality or maybe that momentum, and then you had to make a choice.
Yeah, for sure. So the phrase "good is the enemy of great" comes from that Jim Collins book. Well, gosh, how many years ago was this now? This had to be 10 years ago, I'd say. Let's call it, 9 or 10 years ago. Everything was good. Like our finances were good. Our relationship was good. My fitness was good. Everything was good. So there wasn't this pressure to have to do what it took to get to great. But at the same time as everything being good, Lori was doing everything it took to be extraordinary. She was reading all the books. She was signing up with all the coaches. She was going to all the events. She was taking all the risk, everything it takes to be great. And all of a sudden I realized that it wasn't going to be long before she was way up here in the world of extraordinary, and I was still down here in the world of good enough. And that was going to be a gap that was far too big for us to span. And it really sunk in one night. We were out to dinner. It was a date night. We're sitting across from each other. And she's telling me with so much enthusiasm, oh my God, I met these new people and we came up with these new ideas and we're going to do these new things. And I remember thinking, I didn't say it out loud, but I remember thinking to myself, like, why the hell does everything always have to be so new and exciting? And this, what's wrong with just how things are, right? Because good will trick you into thinking that's as good as it can get.
Yep.
So I remember thinking, why does it have to be so exciting? And why do you guys got to be trying something new? What's wrong with the way things are? And then it struck me in that moment after I had that thought, I'm like, holy shit, dude, what's your problem? This is not a Lori problem that she's trying something new and exciting. This is a Chris problem that it's triggering something in you and that you don't want to change the way things are right now. And I became very conscious in that moment that I wasn't doing what it took to live an extraordinary life, even though I was capable of doing that. And I started watching for, okay, how could I catch up with Lori on this rocket ship that she was on? And it probably wasn't more than a week or two later that I came across this ad with this, you know, who Tai Lopez is. So he used to have this famous ad where he's in his garage and he's like, you know, here's all my cars. It's a Lamborghini, it's Ferrari. And then he pans and he's like, but what I love the most in this garage is all these books. He's got walls and walls of books. And he went on to explain how he read a book a day, every single day. And I didn't know who he was at the time. I actually know him pretty well now, but I didn't know who he was at the time. And I thought, well, if this dude can be this successful and read a book a day, then maybe that's what I got to do. And I made this commitment to read 30 books in 30 days. Now, for context, Craig, I had not finished a book cover to cover in my adult life. Okay. Not since middle school or high school had I finished a book cover to cover. And Sure enough, I made this commitment and I went and I told Lori, and I remember Lori, I thought she'd think I was crazy. Now she's like, dude, let's do this. And to make sure I followed through with it, I remember telling Facebook, because that was all the rage back then. This is back when Facebook was popular. I remember telling Facebook, all right, guys, I'm going to read 30 books in 30 days. Send me your suggestions. And to hold me accountable to doing this, I will match every single dollar for dollar that you guys donate to my favorite charity at the time. To hold me accountable, like when people do like a fundraiser, you know what I mean? Like when they're running a marathon or something. And so that's what held me accountable. And man, listen, it wasn't easy. Matter of fact, it was easy to find the time to read the books. That surprised me. And it was easy to find plenty of books that were good enough to read. That was not a surprise. What was a surprise was how much time I realized I was wasting, and that I didn't think I'd be able to fit things like reading books or self-development into my life. And I learned a ton from the books, but what I learned the most was the power of consistency and the power of doing something radical to slingshot yourself up a level or two when you got to shake up life. Yeah. And that was one of the best moves I'd ever made.
Yeah. What a powerful story.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. That sounds like that was a quantum leap for you.
It was a massive leap. That was one of those things where you don't get to skip a level, you get to skip like 10 levels.
Yeah. And also the more information that you absorb actually improves brain health, which I just found out. And it makes sense. You obviously accumulated a ton of information in that 30 days.
Oh, tons. And listen, I'm grateful for the information in the books, but here's what I learned about myself.
Yeah.
That was so much more valuable. And people always ask when I tell the story, they're like, what was your favorite book in there that you read? Without a doubt, it's a book called Tuesdays with Morrie. If you haven't read it, you have to read it. It'll give you the most beautiful perspective, especially if you're a hard charger. It'll give you the most beautiful perspective of what's important in life.
Tuesdays with Morrie?
Tuesdays with Morrie, Morrie. Tuesdays with Morrie. You got to check it out.
Okay, cool. This is great stuff. I heard you say at some point in regards to financial security, which was really interesting answer. When people hear financial security, they probably assume a couple $1 million in the bank. But the way you articulated it was this. You said, no, that's not correct. Financial security is the ability to be able to manufacture money out of thin air at any time if you lost anything. That's powerful stuff. Tell us what you mean by that.
Here's what I mean. People think that when I reach a certain amount of money, then I'll have financial stability, right? And so what do? They set out on this slow and steady quest of, I'm going to max out my 401k and I'm going to invest in conservative things. And I'm going to make sure I'm, put my pennies aside. And by the way, I'm not knocking saving. I want you guys to be wildly intentional and smart with your finances. Okay. That's how we got in trouble in 2008, 2009 by not doing that. So I'm not advocating against being smart with your money. What I'm saying is there is no number that all of a sudden gives you financial security. I have a friend that lost $80 million in a day, bro. Now, if you asked anybody else, you'd think, oh, you've got $80 million. You're set for life. But guess what? He wasn't. He had to start over, making a really bad decision. And so why do I share that? Your financial stability will never come from a number. Your financial stability will come from what I call your financial ability, your ability to create and manufacture money out of thin air. Exercising that entrepreneurial muscle where if something happened and you had to completely pivot, you know how to create a product that people will want that is profitable and instantly monetize it. That is a skill set that will give you lifelong financial stability by building that muscle of financial ability.
Yeah, and why I think that's so important for the audience listening, like the words he mentioned, it's a skill set that can be developed. It's not a talent that you were born with. Once you develop that skill set, it's priceless.
Yeah, and people are like, well, how do you learn it? You dive in. Listen, we live in a world right now where all the best knowledge is for free. I mean, sure, you can sign up for Craig's membership. You can sign up for my mastermind. You can do those things, and they're valuable. But the truth is, those are just fast tracks to answers. The same answers are available for free out there on the internet if you look for it. Books are free. Courses are free. Podcasts are free. There is so much free information at your fingertips out there that there is no longer an excuse in any way, shape, or form, as long as you have internet, that you can't learn how to create entrepreneurial and financial ability. It's right there. Right now, Craig, I am obsessed with NFTs and blockchain. So Am I sitting around saying, well, gosh, I don't know anybody who's good at this? No. Every single waking moment, I'm listening to a podcast on it. I'm listening to a book on it. I'm going and meeting up with people that I know are already have their fingers in it. I am dedicating at least 5 hours a day right now. And I've got a busy ass schedule, but I'm still carving out 5 hours a day. And I'll tell you where they're coming from in a minute, making sure I learn everything there is about the world of blockchain and NFTs, because it is the greatest opportunity that we have seen in 5 or 6 generations. And I don't want to waste this opportunity. And so why do I share that? If you feel like, well, I wasn't taught business, I wasn't taught entrepreneurship, I would stop your bitching and pick up Google or read a damn book. And that's step one. I don't mean to sound insensitive, but some people need to be shaken by the damn shoulders.
Definitely. And I appreciate the intensity, brother, because there's literally no excuses. There's nothing that you don't have access to. So
it's true.
No more victim mentality.
There's about 1 billion people left in the world that don't have Wi-Fi. They have a legitimate excuse. If you are the other 6 billion, you have lost your excuse. I understand not everybody was born with the same advantages. I understand that some people have been dealt tragic circumstances compared to the average person. All of that is a fact and all of that is true. But you still, after all of that, have the ability to start diving in and self-educating yourself to a place of absolutely thriving. And I hope that empowers someone. I hope it doesn't frustrate people. I hope that empowers someone to say, all right, you know what? I don't trust this asshole, but I'm at least going to try it. Yeah. And if you try it consistently enough, you'll see the fruit start to pay off real quickly.
Yeah. And if anyone's feeling triggered by that, lean into it. Like Chris did when Lori was about to explode. He had a choice. He was a little triggered and then he dove in with the books.
Spot on. Great reference. Spot on.
Yeah.
I could have gone the other way. I could have picked a fight with her. I could have talked her out of it. I could have said, you know, why you always got to make me feel this way, or why isn't our life good enough? Right. I could have done all those things.
Yeah.
Nope. It triggered me. But then I said, wait, why is it triggering me? What's my role and responsibility in this? And it became another great slingshot moment in our life.
Yeah. Hell yeah. This is great stuff. When I started building CLS for the last year and a half, I had a tremendous amount of success. I say very humbly, but all along the last year and a half, I would always hear this name, Chris Harder, or Chris Harder's mastermind, this, that, and the other thing. At some point, when it was said that it was going to be your last one, I joined, had a phenomenal experience. It's no secret that you guys sold that. I think you still have the elite one, but for the most part, you're kind of pivoting and shifting your energy elsewhere. Tell us about some of the exciting new things that you have going on.
Dude, I'm so excited. And you know, we walked away from a ton of revenue and a ton of income to be able to create room for our legacy dreams. And I hope this is a great empowering lesson for people. It's real easy to get addicted to the safety of a certain amount of income or a certain amount of consistency. But if you want to get to that next level, sometimes you got to take a few steps back in order to get a running start, right? So taking our few steps back, Lori has a beverage company called Light Pink that she is building fast and furious. And I have a peer-to-peer lending platform that I'm building fast and furious. And to create the time to build these things that are going to be legacy projects, we had to walk away from other projects that we were near and dear to our heart, that we absolutely loved. And sometimes those are the difficult choices that you make in life. But I wake up every single day now, freaking excited out of my mind that I get to go and build this peer-to-peer lending platform that is going to change lending and borrowing forever. It's taking the power out of the hands of the institutional banks, and it's putting the power back into the hands of individuals. And we're taking the shame and the fear and the uncertainty out of borrowing for the people who need it the most. Never again will people have to be afraid to ask for money. Never again will people have to be afraid that they might get turned down. Never again will people have to be afraid that they're going to be judged or anything like that. What we're building will change the world forever. And I can't freaking wait to bring this thing to market.
Yeah, and in case anyone wasn't sold, you could feel the enthusiasm coming through the screen. And I just want to say, like, leaving like the substantial stuff that you guys have going on right now, like that's confidence. It's also very ballsy because it's proof of concept. It works. It generates revenue. But what I admire most is you know that like if you're really going to put your energy into something, like all of it, like you have to take your foot off first kind of to get to second, so to speak. And sometimes that's removing instant gratification and kind of playing that long game. And I don't think everybody could do that, and I admire that about you.
Well, I hope that at some point in people's lives, they do get a chance to do that, that they do get a chance to take a few steps back, to get a running start and leap into what you really want to be doing. Because that's what it takes. And it's not comfortable, it's not fun, but it goes back to that certainty of when I was talking about financial stability comes from financial ability. I know that at any given time, if I have to go create an income source because this takes longer than expected or whatever happens, hell, we could lose everything building this because it takes millions and millions and millions of dollars to get this thing off the ground. So even if we lost everything, I know without a doubt that I have the financial ability, those muscles built to be able to invent income at the snap of a fingers all over again. That's why I'm so passionate about people making sure that they build those muscles, because it gives you the flexibility to then make choices that align with where you want to go in life instead of making choices out of what you feel like you have to do for safety.
Yeah, which is what most people do, I think, sadly, and it prevents them from taking that leap into stepping into their power.
Yep, without a doubt.
Yeah, this is a tremendous conversation. Thank you so much, brother. Just time really well spent. I'm excited to watch you spread your wings in regards to the app stuff. And what I love is I can't wait to see what's next after that. For the audience listening, we just hit 1 million strong. Like I said, the best way for them to support you, Chris, is?
You know what? You can check out my show at chrisharder.me/podcast. It's the Chris Harder Show. We got 3 episodes a week, and they're all around empowering you around money and business. Or this is my favorite thing I do. You can simply text me the word daily, and I will send you a money mantra or a positive business perspective every single morning that I wake up. And you know where that came from? I wake my wife up to a mantra every day. Every day I wake her up and I say, I'm happier, healthier, wealthier, and more fit than I was yesterday. I make her say it back to me. And after years of doing that, she said, that always changes the way my feet hit the floor. Why don't you do that for other people? And I realized, well, I can't send them the same damn mantra every single morning. So every day, whatever's on my mind that's positive, I send you a positive money mantra or business perspective. So if you want me to text that to you, it's free. There's no catch. It's literally like the way I serve from my heart. And you can text me the word daily to 310-421-0416. Again, text me the word daily to 310-421-0416.
Yeah. And for the audience, if you think what I have to say is credible, let me just assure you, I'm on the list and I get them every single morning and they're quite delightful.
Dude, I love that. I love hearing that. My favorite thing is the responses. I get hundreds. So the text goes out to thousands of people. I get hundreds of responses every morning. Like, I needed this today, or you totally made me positive today, or guess what happened today because of your thing. That is the best feeling on the planet.
Yeah. Just to touch on that, like when I was a little bit more immature, like validation would come in like maybe looking good or a nice watch. But now these days, like exactly what you just said is how I look for validation, for someone to say, that changed my perspective. I needed that. That impacted me. And hopefully this episode will do the same.
And listen, if you have a minute, I want to touch on what you just said. It is okay if your validation right now comes from a nice watch or from a great body or from having the best house on the block or the coolest car or the best bag or best shoes. I never want people to feel shamed for what motivates them right now, because when you're unapologetic about what motivates you right now, that is the carrot, right? The incentive. That is the carrot that gets you up and out of bed and motivates you to create this income producing machine, AKA your career or your business. And you would not create that without those basic motivations at first. And here's the best part. You're going to become a lean, mean income producing machine because of those motivations. Then you're going to get them. And then you realize, hey, these things are pretty cool. Like, I still love a great watch. I still love a great car. But you realize they're not as significant or fulfilling as what you thought they were going to be. And now the best part is your lean, mean income producing machine is up. It's running. It's spitting off money. You no longer have the urge to buy as many of those things as you did in the past. And you say, well, what else is going to make me happy? And that's when you start to flirt with giving. And when you give, you get this dopamine hit. And you want to do it bigger and more consistently and more often and make more impact. And that becomes the best addiction on the planet. And so right now, if you're motivated by a bag, a car, a watch, a body, that's all right. Own it. Like, literally let that get you up out of bed, create the income producing machine that is meant to be. And one day you will like those things, but you will love giving, and you can't give on a big enough level if you don't have that income machine up and running.
That's right. Bang. And I know you're big into philanthropy. It's one of the many things I admire about you, brother. And also, like, you create jobs and you're able to give back, change family trees and so forth. And just to touch on what you said, like, it's okay if that's where you're at now, but keep moving forward, and you'll see as you continue to grow what really makes that impact inside.
Yeah, we did a whole nother show to talk about what happens, the side effects.
We'll do a sequel.
Diving into philanthropy, but man, I encourage people right now, start building that giving muscle. It's Tony Robbins that is famous for saying, if you don't give $1 out of 100 when you got nothing, then you're not going to give 10,000 out of 1,000,000 when you have 1,000,000. You have to build that giving muscle early.
Yeah, beautifully said. Love this so much. How can I personally support you, Chris?
You've already done it just by having me on the show, just by, supporting what we're doing, by being kind to the other people in the mastermind, showing up the way that you did. You have already given us more than enough support. And I'm just grateful that you're out there following your mission. I know it wasn't always aligned for you when you were on Wall Street, and you're out there just shining bright right now, man. So don't let up.
Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate it. For the audience, all we ask is, if you absolutely love the conversation, share it, tag Chris and I. Chris, I want you to know you're the definition of resilience, grit, heart, and curiosity. You're making the world a better place by empowering others to build a life by design, and how with your new app, you're going to change the world. You're a role model and beacon of hope for anyone coming up today with big goals and aspirations. I can personally guarantee your best yet to come. Keep on spreading your wings and making your mark on the world. So much love and respect for you. Thank you so much for stopping by today and dropping these priceless nuggets, Chris.
Right back at you, buddy. Thanks for having me on.
This was awesome.
I really appreciate it, dude. I really do.
So much fun. Thank you.